Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pints and Politics. My name is Drew. I'm here with Mike. And where are we today, Mike?
We are in the Hart Mall in Long Prairie. There's an event going on later.
hmm
Register the vote. It is actually put on by my Democrat opponent, but he asked if I'd be here today.
Is he your opponent or is he,
Yeah, he's running for House of Representatives, District 5B.
Oh, okay. What's his name?
Greg Hendrickson.
Greg Hendrickson. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd heard that AJ Peters is doing the event. And he's
Um,
running against either Michelle Fishbach or Steve Boyd, whoever wins that primary.
yeah, Greg is putting this on,
Okay.
and he invited me, and um, I questioned the motive. I was wondering where this was going, but I read an article in Epoch Times, and the first thing, well, the article is 16 things individuals can do to help bring America together. And I read that and I thought, interesting, because one of the things that I see in politics, especially, is it's an ugly business.
Yeah, it's
It can be
divisive.
very divisive.
Very divisive.
But I don't think it has to be. So the first thing in that article is choose someone you disagree with and start a dialogue. And I thought,
Is
what
that is
better?
that all it says, or does it also say make friends on there?
Make friends,
Make
even if
friends.
neither of you changes your mind.
Yeah.
Well, here we are. Here's your political opponent saying, Mike, do you want to come to this event? And of course, you question it
hmm
because it always seems like in politics there's a motive. But at the same time, how are we going to make things better if we don't reach out, if we don't talk? And, the frustration in politics is, like you say, it's divisive, but if you can humanize it a little bit, maybe it doesn't have to be as divisive. And I talked to candidates all over the state running for different offices, especially House of Representatives. And I always say it doesn't have to be animosity.
Oh, no,
It
you
doesn't
can
have to,
approach it with tact and diplomacy.
right. It doesn't have to be confrontational. It doesn't have to be ugly. It can just be, we have a difference of opinion. Shake hands when you're done.
Yeah, it's
So,
you can argue virtues and but you debate your
but yeah, we're talking about, reaching across the aisle and so forth. But it's been difficult, especially this first 2 years being in office, about how to do that effectively. But we try to, make things better because ultimately what we're trying to do is serve the people,
hmm
right? Yeah,
Yeah, it should be fun, should be exciting.
it'll be interesting, that's for sure.
And the event is to get out to vote, and it's important that everyone votes, right?
Right, voter registration, get out the vote is a big thing.
Yeah, you get to in our style of government, you get to choose how things go by yourself. It's not all top down. It's voice of the people.
Well, it's kind of amazing. We had a great conversation today. Started off in Todd County here with Alan Lisdahl,
Oh
Vicky
yeah.
Vicky Thompson came down, and there was a few others. Lisa Murphy was with, and we talked to the county commissioners about the one senator, one county.
Yeah, how'd that go?
That went pretty well, and we had breakfast afterwards, and we're talking about this, and there is a frustration with government, and how politics are working. And I think for a long time it's been top down.
Yep.
It's been money, it's been special interests that are dictating candidates, that are dictating the course of government. And I said, I think this really needs to change. It needs to come from bottom up because it's the people that these laws are affecting.
Yeah.
And our voice seems to be not heard when it comes to politics. So hopefully we can make some improvements on that.
Yeah, and it's starting from the grassroots. It's starting from the bottom up. I've been hearing about it as far away as from St. Cloud even. There might be talk going on there. It's up north in Park Rapids, and I believe there might be word of it in like Hackensack, Nevis area.
Hmm.
So it's kind of starting in the middle and just kind of spreading out.
Yeah, I think people are frustrated and want something better.
Yeah.
And that's what politics is supposed to be, is make people's lives better. Um, but now what we see, and there was a thing on um, the news today, I think it was yesterday, the new tax in the state of Minnesota, the delivery tax. So
Yeah.
50 cents on every delivery is going to get collected. Now, for us out here in greater Minnesota, Probably not a big deal. You
No, it'd be like
probably,
on every once a week you order pizza, have that delivered.
right,
Extra
some things
50
like that.
cents.
And I know there's some exemptions, but at the same time, if you are, let's say, somebody elderly in
Hmm.
the metro and you have most of your things delivered in, that 50 cent per delivery tax,
That'll add up because
that will add up.
I'm thinking about something like Uber Eats or Instacart.
Now, here's the question that I thought of right away. If it's a 50-cent tax on every delivery, what is that tax going for?
Well, what's it going to?
What's it going to? Well, exactly.
Yeah.
How is the money being spent? Because if it is just more government growth for the sake of government growth, how does that serve the people?
Yeah, and plus we had a $19.5 billion surplus this year.
Exactly.
Granted, I'm sure most of it's going to go to the flooding that's going on in South Minnesota.
The 19.5 billion?
I wouldn't be surprised. Government has a
No,
really good job of spending money.
no, that's gone already.
Oh, it is?
That's gone.
Holy crap.
There's that's all spent. That's basically one-time money spent on long-term government growth.
Okay.
That's gone. So where does your 50 cent per delivery tax go? Where is that going to end up? And some people have said, well, I think it goes for roads and bridges. But aren't roads and bridges already funded by your gas tax, by your bonding in the state of Minnesota? So what does
Yeah.
this 50 cent pay for? What is it going to go to? If it's just more government expansion, more government growth,
Well, you have that
that's
new
wrong.
building going in next door at the SOB, don't you?
That's the
Yeah. That costs money.
that's 730 million
Yeah,
as the base.
we gotta kill trees and kill grass and ecosystem. We gotta make it concrete. That's what that money's going towards.
The palace to politicians. It's absolutely disgusting to think $730 million for that building. And what are we going to show for it? That building itself is beautiful right now.
Mhm.
To see the changes and everything that's going to happen to it and then expand onto it more is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
And we have talked about this before, but where are the House of Representative members going to go in the in the time that this is getting rebuilt or remodeled?
Have we talked about this before?
I think we have.
Seems new to me.
Oh, well, we are going to be moved over to the Centennial Building, it's called.
Oh,
Now, when we first heard this, I asked the obvious question: what's in the Centennial Building now? How can we move 134 uh, members plus staff and all the people and the state office building into another building if somebody's in there?
yeah.
The fact is that building's empty.
Really?
So, so we are adding on another government building
Mm-hmm.
while there is a building sitting there empty already.
Oh, maybe we can do some indoor tiny houses.
Indoor tiny houses, I guess that's one way to spend more taxpayer money.
Pops up every once in a while.
That one pops up a lot.
That's
So
really
that's
neat.
frustrating how we're spending more government money on government growth, and what do we have to show for it? So, like I said, government spending, government growth, government money. It is not government money. We have to stop looking at it that way. It is taxpayer
It's
money.
taxpayer money.
It is money that comes out of your paycheck, my paycheck, and goes to the growth of government. And if we don't have anything to show for it, then what does it gain? And that's the downfall to this. If every time a new tax comes along, every time a new spending program on the government comes along, it takes more money out of your paycheck.
And it gives you less money to spend on things.
That's right.
And that's how you get more incentives for child tax credit, food stamps,
Well,
other welfare programs.
we saw it time and time again. Every our arguments, um, you know, basic or the free lunch
Hmm.
program. You have to ask the question: why do people need to have free lunch? Because they can't afford their own kids' lunch at school. Why can't you afford your own kids' lunch? But now look at how much your paycheck and how much your income is getting spent and taken from you.
And how much does that add to inflation? So not only are you making less money,
Um,
but prices are going up because
I
of.
think that's two separate things, though, and I
Okay.
think inflation would have to be dealt with separately. But right now, by most estimates, you're looking at almost 45% of your paycheck goes to taxes.
Mhm.
What if you could take home and keep 45% more? Could you afford
Oh
your
yeah,
kids' lunch?
I could
Could you
afford a lot.
afford daycare? But
Yeah.
here we are growing more government, spending more money, And to me, it's just frustrating. But going back, we've talked about Paul Harvey many times in his Freedom to Change, right?
Yep.
And he talks about that, the growth of government. And as government gets bigger, the individual gets smaller. And here we are. So, but I've been rambling a little bit. We
Oh,
wanted to
it's
talk
fine. It's
about something
good.
else today.
Well, I mean,
Um,
I like how you brought that news article. Is really fun and talks about honesty and humility, and that's been some upcoming. That's been two themes that have been coming up quite a bit, I think, recently, hasn't it?
exactly. And
Yeah.
I think people are frustrated, want to see better,
Hmm.
in their own lives, in their politicians' lives. I think we talked about the debate a little bit the other day.
Oh
Not,
yeah,
and there's frustration on a lot of people's parts that this is what politics has turned into.
yeah, and then not to be overly rude, but Joe Biden had a very abysmal performance.
Well,
And how many? And we're dealing with the aftermath of that right now. So many people are just lining up right behind him to defend him, which is good. It's loyalty, but at the same time,
sure.
you have to admit the problem, right?
I tell you what, the optics now, and I think I've said this before that I don't watch much TV,
Mhm.
hardly at all. But and I haven't seen Joe or our president on screen for months, for sure. So when he came out at the beginning of the debate, so when he came in for the debate and the shuffle and very
Mhm.
stiff walk, and I looked at him and I thought, wow. And in the office of presidency, go back and look at pictures. When candidates are first elected until after their first 4 years, they age a lot
Yeah.
in 4 years. That's a fact. So to see Joe Biden come in the shape that he was, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That was bad. That was very bad. Um,
Yeah, it's just one of those things, and just the optics, not just the shuffle as you call it, but the way he's like composing himself while he's standing up there, how he's talking, even his facial expressions are off.
sure.
So it's hard for me to believe anyone when they say that there's a very strong mental acuity there. And it's just one of those things about honesty. And I know nobody talked about too much about honor and keeping your word in the debate, but I have to bring this up because there's this story that's been brewing in my brain for a couple of weeks, and I teased it last time. It was a King Arthur story.
Yes,
And
we've
I
talked about that a little bit.
just a little bit. I'm glad you watched the video. But we had King Arthur, he's riding out hunting. And I know this might be a tangent due to politics, but it's just one of these things why honesty is so important and even optics. But he's riding out, he gets caught off guard. Would that be a good term for it?
Hmm.
Yeah, by one of his rivals, and his rival presented to him a riddle, and just like, hey, you got to find out what women desire most. If you don't, then you got to come back here and tell me you're here. Don't do it, I'll kill you. It's like,
Hmm.
well, on my word, I'll do it. And then he goes out, finds one of his knights. Sir Gawain was his name. And they go and they try to figure it out. They can't. It's getting close to that deadline. King Arthur's going to keep his word. Like he's ready to die over this. It's a very strange way of thinking about things. But he ends up finding this hag-looking lady. I'm going to use the word hag. Very not appealing woman. And she had the secret. She's willing to give it to Arthur if she got Sir Gawain to marry her, which kind of a tough ask if you could imagine. He goes up to his Sir Gawain and he's like, "Hey, can you marry this woman for me so like we can get the answer and that way I don't die?" And Sir Gawain's like, "Yeah, obviously, I'm down. Let's do it." It's just funny. He gets the answer, and maybe I'll go into depth with this more later. I just want the overview. Just kind of the idea that he's willing to sacrifice his life and his best friends are willing to just marry some hag who ends up not being a hag afterwards due to some curse. Magical Disney story. You really should make a movie on it. But just
Actually, it is like a female version of Beauty and the Beast.
either that or a female version of Shrek.
No, I suppose it's about the
Yeah,
same premise, isn't
same
it?
premise. Just yeah, just one of those things. You're keeping your word, and everything works out at the end.
And didn't Arthur, when he found out what Sir Gawain had to go through, say no?
Well, he said you don't have to do this.
Yeah, he said, "You don't have to do this." He would not make his friend sacrifice what he thought was a horrible ending
Yeah.
for him. So, Yeah, it's an interesting story, and
Yeah,
it
it's
goes back to
if you
that
want to look it up
Arthurian.
before we go super in depth with it, it's the story of King Arthur and Dame Bragnell, I believe it
Yeah,
is. Very neat story. But just this whole thing, and when we look at politics in general, we see so many people saying that they'll do something or pledging to respect an endorsement and then just not. And that's a hit on Joe Frazier. It kind of bothered me because he rescinded his pledge after he lost the endorsement.
that was one of the things that caught up today that we
Oh,
talked
did it?
about quite a bit today. After the meeting with the commissioners
Yeah.
is the endorsements. You know, the endorsement of the people, of those delegates, has so much value. In any primary, the endorsed candidate over the challenger wins. It's up into the 90%.
Yeah.
So that endorsement by the people is huge. Why is there so many people who say they're going to pledge to take the endorsement or abide by the endorsement and then don't do it?
I,
To me, that's very dishonest.
it is. It really is. And it's an optics game. Because you say that, and like, I'm a respectable man, I'm going to respect this, and all of a sudden it doesn't. But well, I kind of still want to win, and
Yep.
that office is more important than their dignity and their honor.
Well, there's a credibility thing. And
Mhm.
once you say you're going to abide by the endorsement and you don't, I think a person loses credibility. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah, it's a tough thing going back on your word, especially when everybody knows it. Like, how can
Yep.
they trust you?
That's right. Very difficult.
Yeah.
So
Anywho,
the other thing we're going to talk about a little bit coming up, 4th of July. We've
oh
got
yeah, Fourth of July. I
4th
almost
of July.
forgot.
How
Almost
could you
forgot.
forget about the 4th?
You know, I won't forgive when it pops up. And granted, this will be released after Fourth of July, so happy Fourth, everybody.
Happy 4th of July.
Yeah, just our independence from Britain, freedom over tyranny. Man, neat themes.
It is, and think about the
And
sacrifices.
sacrificing, even though the easy thing to do would have been to just lay down your guns and submit to the taxes and all the other stuff.
Hmm. The other interesting thing about that, and we've talked about this before, is the small percentage of the population that actually sided with
Yeah,
the rebellion.
wasn't it like 13.5%?
I think it was less than that. I think it was under 7.
No, I think it was double digits.
Oh, possibly. I think I've always heard that it was under 7%.
We'll get a fact check, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
So that
surprisingly low number.
because there was almost as much that supported, they were considered the loyalists,
Hmm.
that supported Britain in this whole thing. So think about if it had flipped.
Yeah, it very easily could have
Could
flipped.
have very easily flipped, and we would still probably be a colony of Britain.
Yeah, we'd be like Canada. Nobody wants that.
And nobody wants to be like Canada. Not even Canada. Canadians.
I don't blame them.
That's too funny. But no, that July 4th, it's a great celebration. We've talked about traditions and stuff before. And who doesn't love to get together on the 4th of July? Go watch a
Barbecue
barbecue,
and
bring
blow some stuff up.
yep, some fireworks. Be careful with the fireworks.
Yep.
I saw some video of people who have injured themselves with fireworks.
Oh yeah. Well, there was one year I
Horrible.
burned my thumb pretty bad with a Roman candle. It just,
I can about imagine.
and let's just say some beverages were involved, and you don't hold the thing by the fuse. I'll tell you that right. I still have all my fingers, thank
Words of
goodness.
wisdom from Drew, right there.
Don't light yourself on fire. No, bad thing.
Yeah. But no, it's a great holiday, and I always look forward to it.
It's always a lot of fun,
It is.
especially in Minnesota because we have all these lakes, so you can hop on the lake and do stuff up.
Oh yeah, and the fireworks that go off around some of the lakes, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It looks like we might have some weather issues this year, but I'm looking forward to it. Few parades going on, few celebrations locally, so should always be you know, tradition wise where it should always be a great thing to celebrate the 4th.
Yeah, it's always a fun time.
For sure. What other
Hey,
topics? I think we had one more we were going to
I
discuss.
don't remember. I think we hit them all because we got the story, policy stuff. Huh? We hit the news article.
Yeah.
No, if not, we'll get it next time.
Actually, one thing that I was thinking of before we didn't discuss is primaries. We talked about them here,
Oh yeah.
but remember
We
August
August 13th,
13th
yep.
is primaries, but
That's what it
early
was.
voting started already.
Has it?
I believe so. I think you can start voting end of June. So you've got all of July where you can vote early for primaries.
That seems excessive to me.
It sure does. For the candidates, they're looking at banking votes, I'm sure, figuring out who's voted already. Um, but really, those primaries, it's all about who shows up.
Yep.
And primary percentage of people showing up is always incredibly low.
Isn't it like 5 to 12?
I'd have to look that up.
Yeah.
You got some facts on top of me twice today. I'm not sure.
I don't know if
Primaries are
that's a good
important. I
thing.
mean that's where you get to decide if there wasn't an endorsement, you know,
Yeah.
primaries are huge.
Primaries are huge. Primaries can be costly.
Exactly. I'm
But
not a fan of primaries.
yeah, I know we've gone into that times. Yeah,
Exactly.
August 13th, save the date, vote.
Yeah.
Register to vote too. But yeah, I think we can wrap this up.
Yeah.
Thank
Well, it's been
you.
another good one. Here
Yeah.
again, we are at Hart Mall in beautiful downtown Long Prairie. Um,
Yeah.
Good
Good
conversation.
conversation. We got a voter registration event coming up. So anyway, thank you everyone for watching so much. My name is Drew. We're here with Mike. You're watching Pints and Politics. God bless.
Thank you.